Hello there, what is going on everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars Black Series Enfys Nest's Swoop bike from Solo, a Star Wars story. This thing is a pretty large box, as you can see here. Does come with the Enfys Nest figure itself, so this will be a very exciting one to open up. We're going to take a look at the box here. It's very, very cool. And this is going to be, it's got a number on it. Let me get the other side. There we go. This is going to be number 5. And we look at the back of the box here. If you would like to read any of that, feel free. You can pause right now. We get some great shots of how it's going to look. Also, if you guys aren't already familiar, I am giving away a Star Wars Black Series Force FX lightsaber right now. And if you'd like to enter to win that, all you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment. It's as simple as that. Go ahead and let me know what is your favorite entry into the Black Series line. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this thing open and see how it looks. All right, so here we are now. I just opened this thing up. There is some assembly required in this Swoop bike, and it's in multiple pieces, so it would all fit inside the box. As you can tell, I'm having difficulty getting it all in the shot. It is absolutely huge, and we're gonna measure this thing. It is about 21, just under 21 inches from tip to rear, so very, very long. That's incredible, but it's very, very pretty looking as well. On your shelf, I think it's going to be gorgeous. It's one of the largest things I've ever seen out of the Black Series line. I think the only thing that's bigger than this is the First Order Special Forces tie, and that's probably it. On this stand, it does move around a little bit as well. And so let's go ahead and we'll break these apart and examine both the figure and the Swoop. I do want to point out that before I break them apart and look at them individually, she barely sits on the seat in here. So it's like it was built for somebody a little bit like a larger figure. And I mean, that's a pro and a con. It's you know, it's like nice that you can potentially fit larger figures on this as well. So like maybe Chewbacca could ride this thing. All right, let's go ahead and break it apart and take a look at the bike itself. So just looking at the bike, I want to start with the front. We have some really nice paint apps right here on the on these little banners, these little red pieces that look really good, and they really match kind of the description. And we have that on both sides here, so we can really get some good, you know, some really nice detail on the red and black paint. Whereas on the rest of the plastic, like we have basically 2 colors of plastic here, whereas it extends outward. And this is the part that had to be snapped in right here on both sides, and then one goes in underneath, as well as these little pistons here, which are actually really cool. I'll talk about those in a minute. But for most of this plastic, I feel like it could have been painted better, because for the most part, outside of like the red and some of the darker gray here, I feel like we're just basically looking at monotone plastic for most of it, where there really could have been some more paint apps. Like looking at a lot of this stuff right in here, like all of that could have probably been painted. All of this could have probably been painted. You know, and a lot of these little detail, like this piston probably could have been painted. Like it could have been different colored plastic at least. Like this part right here could have been, the top part could have been, you know, like gray, and then the bottom part could have been beige. So like I feel like they kind of missed the mark on the paint, but because like look, like, under here is where they do good. Like you have this nice shiny gunmetal, and this part looks great for the engine. Although then this engine part here underneath is not the same plastic, and it probably should have been. Like they should have used more of this type of like looks like maybe a dry brush or just maybe a shinier plastic. They should have used more of that, because it looks better than like this underneath this you know, cheaper plastic. But let's go up to the handlebars, because this is actually a positive. So there's lots of pros and cons with this. Like the handlebars will move from side to side, but you also had to attach these pistons, which actually go in and out. So they do slide in and out of there, which is really cool. You can see them moving right through there. So I like that. I like the fact that these pistons move. I like the fact that this whole cockpit part actually pops off, and you can get a look at the engine inside there. It's a shame that the engine isn't also that same gunmetal, because it would have been really nice if that engine was shiny. And of course, you can pull out the pistons completely right there and see how those go together. We can pop those back on, and we can pop this engine back in place. But like, it's not something you'll probably want to do a whole lot, but you could probably set up a scene where you've got maybe Chewie working on... I'm using Chewbacca as a reference a lot in this, but you could have Chewbacca like maybe fixing it or something like that, or maybe some Jawas and some sand people kind of ravaging it and you know, taking the parts. There's a lot of different things you could do here. The seat is a different material, so that's like a darker plastic, like more of a leathery looking plastic. So I like the material for the seat. Back on here, you've got some foot holders, which are designed to have some extra characters can ride along, and we have that on both sides. So that is a big plus. I love that. I love the function that goes into it. We've got some more pieces on the back that really, like all of this detail here on the main chassis really could have benefited from some paint. This part especially really could have used either at least some shading, if not a whole different color. I'm kind of disappointed in that. Same thing with some of these tubes underneath here. And again, if you're into touching things up or whatever, this would be a great opportunity to come in here with a paintbrush and just kind of make it look a little bit better. It would be really cool. Underneath, you know, we've got some you know, air brakes. Basically, it looks like some more places. A little bit of mold line right there on the bottom that wasn't scraped off that well, but not too bad. Let's see what else we got here. We've got more of the sails on the back, and then this is one of the parts that looks really good, is these sails. Very good paint job on those. And then the last part, the engines on the back. You know, on the box art, they look like they're that shiny gunmetal, and here it's just a very light looking plastic. This should have really been more of that gunmetal material, the same kind that this part was done in. They should have used that plastic for this, because this is a very cheap looking plastic for the engine part itself, and that's also disappointing. We've got some guns over here, and asymmetrical too. So if you notice on this side there's only the one gun, and then I flip it over on this side there's two guns. So I like that it's not perfectly symmetric. So that's pretty cool. There's a lot of detailing in the engine down in here, which actually looks really cool. You know, again, like a lot of pros and cons. We've got a little scuff marks here on the top end. Yeah, it looks nice. These foot pads actually can rotate up, you know, up and down on both sides. So I'm digging that. I like that. You know, more moving parts is very cool. And then the base that you're going to stick it in is actually pretty solid. It's real thick plastic. It's hollowed out underneath, but it's got some heft to it, and it's very durable. And it allows this thing to move up and down and swivel left and right a little bit. So you get a little bit of flexibility on how you want to move that. So it's not a bad looking piece, but I feel like it's got a lot of, you know, things where it just kind of failed to meet the potential that it could have had. One other thing I want to talk about is Enfys Nest has this blade that can actually rest in here as well. So it's nice that there's some weapon storage, and you have one of these. There we go. And you have one of these on both sides. So that much is actually pretty cool. I like that. Maybe we can do it backwards. You can do it a couple of different ways. You have a lot of flexibility on how you want to stick it in there. But yeah, I like that. Let's look at Enfys Nest. All right, here is Enfys Nest. A really nice looking figure. Probably the high point of the box. A lot of really good things going on with this figure, but maybe not perfect. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about was the thing that jumped out at me right away with this figure, and that is the weapon. The weapon, this blade that she comes with is got no paint on it at all, and it's really could have had some gunmetal, at least on the blade portion. This one's kind of a disappointment. There's no paint on that one at all. So, you know, what could have been a really beautiful accessory ends up looking very, very cheap. So, not a big fan of that. One of the things that is really cool about this character is the cloth goods. And it's a mix of cloth goods and plastic goods. So this cape, this is all fuzz. Man, this is really pretty too. It's really nice looking. We've got the hair coming out the back there. We've got the fuzz, this very kind of Game of Thrones looking cloak. Real nice cloth goods here on the outside, two-tone. We've got the orange on the inside. And this does come off. If you pop the head off, the head comes off pretty easily. You can, and I was ashamed because I was hoping that this would be a mask, but it's not. It's a whole headpiece. And the cloth comes off. The cape comes off right there. It is sewn, so don't rip it. The head comes off real easy. This is not one of the more difficult heads to get off. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the figures review with the articulation without the cape on, because the cape can get in the way a little bit, but it'll be easier to point out the articulation without the cape on. So let's start with the head. Now the head does not look up very far because of the hair that is in the back, so that does inhibit the head from really looking up much. But it can look down a decent amount, which is good because as it's in the driver's seat, it's going to want to look forward, right? As far as moving side to side, it's got plenty of wiggle room there, and it will spin around a little bit. It'll be a little harder to have the head articulate much when you've got the cape on, but there's a lot of extra room there. It's very kind of loose without the cape, so I think ultimately you'll probably want to have it displayed with the cape on. Let's look at the shoulders. Now the shoulders are going to go up pretty far. They can actually go up farther than that. Although it takes a little bit of effort to put them up there. So the shoulders can go up really high. Lots of motion right there on the shoulders. And of course they also swivel. So we've got full range of motion on these shoulders. Really, really great shoulders. For our arms, we have single jointed elbows, but they're coming in a really nice 90 degrees. And considering that we can also bring the shoulders up and have a lot of flexibility on the shoulders, we get a ton of motion on these shoulders. I like that. I was worried a little bit that maybe these forearm plates here would interfere with the figure, but they certainly do not. And by the way, like speaking of the forearm plates, gosh, this figure is like really, really pretty. Lot of detailing. So wherever they skimped on detailing on the ship, or the bike rather, they did not skimp on detailing on the rest of the figure. For our wrists, we have wrist swivel and a joint here, so they can go in, and they can't go out as far because that is there, but if you want to turn them up, then they can go out up that way. So lots of motion there. Our torso joint can go pretty far forward and pretty far back, which is really good for a rider because you want them to be able to have multiple movements, and also you get some turn on there this way, and that's all at the torso. The waist doesn't turn, but you don't need to because you have it here. For the legs, they can go out pretty far. You can kick forward pretty well, which is, surprising with a character that has plastic goods on the front, but these are a thinner plastic good. It's like they designed this figure that its goods would not get in the way of it being a rider, and that's a really good thing here because it can go very, very far forward. Love that. Doesn't go backwards very far, though. Doesn't go backwards very far, but generally you're going to want it more farther forward. We are able to swivel at the thigh, and we have double jointed knees that go back very, very far. Great knees on this particular figure. They go back all the way, so you can really do a lot of posing with this figure. So that much is great. The knees are awesome. And our ankle, we have just ankle pivot and then forward and back. So we've got a little bit of that. We don't have the ankle, the left and right on that. But we have it up here, so if you need to turn the foot, you'll have to do it up here at the leg joint. So ultimately, really good articulation. I kind of skipped over the paint, so I do want to talk about that too. The head looks really nice on this figure. We got our chrome around the eyes. We got a lot of the paint and all of the detailing. That little bit of chrome sticking out right there. A little bit of the blue on the protruding blades and decorations. Just really, really awesome looking headpiece. The chest looks great. We've got like bone and chrome and then this box in here with a little bit of red on there. It looks really good. I guess the bone could have been a different color, but considering that it's all kind of bone color, it just kind of matches. Our belt, we've got some silvering detail on there. Looks real nice. The front flaps, again, these are plastic goods, but they really don't. They don't have any problem, with the character's mobility or what poses you want to put the character in. So that's really nice. We don't have much detail on the back of the figure, but that's going to be mostly covered up by the cloth goods anyway. These forearms look awesome as well. Down on our feet, we have some weapons. We've got like a blade that we can put in there. We've got some extra rounds or some, comm devices right there, and another accessory right over here. Looks maybe another probably some type of other blade, or I don't even know what that's supposed to be. Maybe a toolkit for fixing your bike. You gotta be able to fix it on the go. But really, really cool looking figure. My biggest complaint here is just that this is not very, painted well, and that the mask doesn't come off. I suppose it would have probably been harder to make the mask come off and then also allow for the cloth goods to attach, but ultimately it looks really good. Now here she is getting the jump on a couple of biker scouts. Maybe she needs to add some more bikes to her gang's collection, right? And those speeder bikes might just not be as big as hers, but definitely they probably work. And if nothing else, she could probably use them for some spare parts. Here she is fighting off a Tusken Raider and defending her bike from would-be scavengers. And lastly, here she is using some of those extra footrests to transport a couple of Lukes to wherever they need to go. Apparently, they sold their speeder for passage to Alderaan. I don't think she can make it all the way there. Plus, they don't have masks on, so in deep space, they're probably going to freeze to death. But that's about all we've got for the review today. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you haven't already, make sure you're entered to win that lightsaber giveaway. That is going to be running all throughout February. There's more details for that on Crabbok.com. You can hop on Crabbok.com also if you're more interested in gaming. I've got a lot of gaming links and information out there. You can also hop in my Discord if you want. A big shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. You guys help make this all possible. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day. Here with a lot of good things. Whoops.